Okay, right now we've got Gabriel. Perfect timing. Gabriel Bristol is from Intelicare Direct. He's the CEO. Gabriel, how are you tonight?
I'm great. How are you doing, Evan?
Good, thanks. So now you recently, I guess you had an article in the Huffington Post that's gotten a lot of attention. I got to tell you honestly, I don't read the Huffington Post much, but it referred to a woman named Jane who was having trouble finding a job. Is Jane a real person?
Yes, in fact, Jane indeed is a real person. Normally, I know you're not supposed to reveal a woman's age, but she is a vibrant, beautiful, intelligent 62-year-old woman who lives in Cedar Rapids, Iowa.
And so can you recap some of the issues that she was experiencing?
So she was recently laid off from her employer where she'd been at for about 14 or 15 years in the IT department. She was well thought of, highly respected, and was the go-to person in her company. But as in the case in so many businesses across the United States over the last decade, they continued to downsize and outsource, where she found herself out of a job. She hung on for a long time and was the last to go, but was out of a job. And she immediately started looking. And She confided in me that what was happening is she was not even being asked to interview, let alone being offered a job. And she knew the jobs were being posted. She knew they had a need. She knew they were interviewing, but they were not interviewing her.
Wow.
That really resonated with me.
Now, you're the CEO of a company that has over 300 employees. So before we get into the advice you gave, tell us a little bit about your company, if your company would hire someone like her.
Okay, great question. Intelicare Direct is a company, and we currently have about 400 employees in Las Vegas and San Diego, and we are expanding so quickly that we are hiring another 300 employees in San Jose and in Northern California, which will bring our head count to about 700. And many of our employees are older Americans. They are experienced people. They are seasoned people. And we find they add tremendous value to the enterprise. And I would go so far as to say, I don't know if we would have the successes that we've had and be the company that we are without the benefit and the value that these employees add.
Right. Well, there's been talk for decades about older employees. People, once they're 50, 55 and older, they become less attractive to companies. And now, I mean, and in some cases you can understand that there's a technological divide at times. But this has happened for a long period of time. This is nothing new to the workforce, right?
It isn't anything new to the workforce. There are these preconceived notions, and I talk a little bit about this in the article. There is bias that works both ways. There are people, let's just call it what it is, there are people who make judgments about older Americans. They will say they're cranky, they're crotchety, they're not willing to learn the new technology and all the other things like that. But then there are older Americans who make some judgment calls unfairly about younger Americans. So it cuts both ways. But the one thing I'd like to point out here is I no longer believe that older Americans are not savvy when it comes to technology and do not understand the latest trends and do not care about them. They absolutely do. We all know we've all been in restaurants and see the older Americans with their iPhones, or their Blackberries, their thumbs going wild, or taking selfies, or all of these things. It's no longer the case. So that's kind of an outdated model, an outdated belief. And like I said before, these older Americans add significant value. I firmly believe that.
Well, I don't disagree with you that older Americans offer a lot of value. I don't disagree with you at all about that. But I would have to disagree with you. I think you got to take that an individual by individual basis, because I think there are many older Americans that have done their homework. They've done what they need to do to get updated technologically, but I think there's others that haven't. And I think it's a case by case basis.
Yeah, well, you and I are on the same page. We just agree not to paint everybody with the same brush, right?
I wouldn't automatically look at someone, but unfortunately, I have interviewed some older individuals, and they've come to me and they said, "I want to do work for you. I want to go out there and work for your newspaper. I want to do this." And I go, "Okay, well, I need you to be able to do these things." "Oh yeah, I don't do any of that stuff. I'm not. I don't really use email much. I don't know how to use that program." And I'm like, "Well, then we've got a problem, because if you can't do certain things, a certain way, we can't do it. You know what I mean?" So I think that
exactly.
And listen, it's no different than younger people that choose to do it their way as well, and they don't want to follow the corporate model. So
right. So it's incumbent on those in the marketplace to have a valuable skill set and know what that skill set is. That's in demand and needed, and brush up. The onus is on each and every one of us.
So now, what does Intelicare do that other companies can model that might take advantage of the experience of people like Jane?
Well, in the broader picture, we're a full-service customer contact center, so we do a lot of inbound customer service work on behalf of various companies. And we have seen that in our workplace, having a balance of older and younger people is a nice mix. The older people often tend to mentor the younger people directly or indirectly, teaching them the value of coming to work consistently, showing up on time, always having a certain level of professionalism that, quite frankly, sometimes escapes people just entering into the workforce or new to the workforce. So that's been very beneficial for us. And a boom for us is that a lot of these older people bring a whole another set of skill sets to the office. We may be hiring them for their ability to be great customer service or provide great customer service, but it's certainly a plus when we find out that they have some IT skills, that they have some accounting skills, some HR skills. They come with a wealth of experience, and it's exciting. We actually go out of our way to look for individuals. We partner with some programs that help older Americans who are returning into the workforce, like a wonderful program called P2E, which is Pathway to Employment, that provides great support, and a few others. So there's a lot of opportunities out there, and a lot of people who are older and need jobs, and we're certainly glad and feel lucky to be able to bring them into the mix.
Stay with us, Gabriel. I've got some more questions for you about hiring older employees. Gabriel Bristol's with us. He's the CEO of Intelicare Direct. You're listening to Evan and Deb right here at 1250 Wins, WHNZ.
Before Gerjote, New York was a fashion line, it was one woman's dream. And when her company grew and needed space in the heart of Manhattan, Regis made it happen for a fraction of the cost. With beautifully furnished offices and administrative support staff, Regis gave Gerjote the professional image she wanted and the place to make her life's work a reality. So when you're ready to start your business or take your business to the next level, Regis is there. Regis, the new way to work. Call 1-800-OFFICES now.
You're running your business, and we at Wix.com know things can get stressful. But creating your website doesn't have to be. With Wix, you can create a professional website all by yourself. It's easy and free. You don't have to be a programmer. Just drag and drop everything into place. It's your website, your style. Show the world what you can do. Go to Wix.com and create your own stunning website today. It's easy and free.
All right, we're talking right now to Gabriel Bristol. He's the CEO of Intelicare Direct, and we're talking about, what's going on. Why are companies maybe not hiring as many older employees as they should? And Gabriel, so when you talk to, people that are, business owners like yourself, do you find that other companies are open to hiring older employees, or they're shying away?
It's really a mixed bag, and it comes down to the industry, and often it depends on the owner or the president, CEO of the company. But there are some industries that evidence points to the fact that they may be shying away from hiring older workers. But of course, that's anecdotal evidence, and you'd be hard pressed to find anybody that would admit that for obvious reasons. But any older American that's looked for work recently for a considerable period of time would tell you they know it to be true from their own personal experience.
So what advice would you give older workers if they're looking to stay in the workplace?
Some of the advice I laid out in my article and that I gave Jane directly was, number one, take time to reflect, and before you embark on this chapter, really think about what it is that you want to do. If you worked in IT and you hated the last few years, chances are you may hate it again. It may pique your interest for a little while, but you'll probably fall into that same rut. And in Jane's case, she really enjoyed the IT field and is actively looking for a job in that industry. But for other people, they may decide that, they're people. They love to be with people. They love to be front and center with the public. So if they were an accountant, this is not the time to go back and not live your dream or do what you want to do. Find a job in retail. Find a job in sales. Find a job in customer service. But use this opportunity, because it'll be one of your last positions, to do what it is you really want to do and what piques your interest. Look for that type of work. The second thing I suggested is put aside your own biases. A lot of times when I talk to older Americans who are in the workforce or looking to get back into work, I'll hear comments like, my manager who interviewed me, she would have been about 30 years old, and I know she didn't have a grasp of what's going on. What could she know at her age? Or she doesn't know what business is really like. And you see variations of that, and it's just the bias that they think they may be experiencing, and that comes across if you go into an interview and you have that. You may be a little reserved, or you may not come across the way you want to and present your best self. So put that aside. Go in with an open mind and an open heart and give your best interview. And then thirdly, I say presentation matters. You don't have to pander to stereotypes. That doesn't mean a 60-year-old guy or a 70-year-old guy should be, throwing on a $300 a pair denim jeans that he found at Bloomingdale's because, that's what he thinks kids are wearing. But he should be wearing something that is professional but yet current and tasteful. And the same thing goes for women. You give verbal cues to your energy level, your professionalism, and all of those things through your dress. So dress professionally, and don't think that you can not focus on that piece of the process or that piece of the interview. And fourthly, I tell older Americans who are looking to reenter the workforce, maybe this is the time to be brave and to step out and work as an independent consultant, especially if the bulk of your experience is in one specific industry or field. Being a consultant does require a healthy dose of moxie or courage, but you can get out there and give a company the benefit of your knowledge, of your decades of experience, and the upside, you still have the flexibility that you may crave and higher level of autonomy.
Right. Very interesting. I mean, and I think for both sides have to be open. I think a lot of young people don't always give credit to the wealth of experience and knowledge that older employees tend to have. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that, yes. I think that in any situation, it's up to the person who may feel that or be picking up on that to maybe refute that or counterbalance that and talk about your experience. Talk about your ability to work well with other people. Talk about your sense of urgency. All of those are important characteristics in the workplace. And the truth is, there is no one age bracket that corners the market on those attributes. Anybody can possess them, young or old. So you can have that dialogue, and you can emphasize the possible if you are talking to somebody who has a preconceived notion. And like I said earlier, make sure that you yourself don't have one also.
Right. Right. And it's probably, it's a good idea, not to come off like, well, this is always the way we did it. And, and so.
Back in the day.
Right. And let's be honest, back in the day, it was better. I agree. I liked it better in the 70s. I know people say you're crazy, but there were some good things about things being simpler and easier. And, when you look back and you think, well, the internet and everything, the way, all this technology was to save us money. At the end of the day, all this technology costs us so much money when you're a business owner. So
yeah, that can be very true. Technology in itself is just another tool, and you have to use it correctly and not have it be the end all and the be all, and it shouldn't take the place of a strong management and sound business practices. So and I think anyone who is a leader in business kind of recognizes that. So
right. I like what you're talking about. Gabriel Bristol from Intelicare Direct. You could find them at IntellicareDirect.com. Thanks so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you very much, and thank you for allowing me to connect with your listeners. I appreciate it.